Good
Well,
morning.
team OPI on here, which is great. So real quick, Chris, thank you very much for being part of this. And
Welcome.
I know you're on vacay and all of that. So your dedication is well noted. Thank you. Question. I had left Dr. Urban with MSU and you to discuss what it might look like to do a research. Have you reached to her?
Yeah, we did last week. In fact, it was right after you had asked us to do so. We set up a meeting. Actually, it was a week ago this last Friday.
Great.
And both her and Ashley and I met with her, and we went through the SOW and gave her a lot more background on some of the things that we have. And so she was in the process of getting that updated. As soon as she had that ready to go, she was going to send it our way so we could review it.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. I'm just trying to pick up cookie crumbs at the very end of it. There we got the OPI. I love it. We have 8 participants right now. Good morning, everyone. We'll be starting shortly. We're just kind of having a simple little OPI meeting here. So it's all good. Good morning, Crystal. Good to see you. And Wendy, we just got off a great conversation dealing with
Superintendent.
Good morning, Crystal. Looking forward to a really a simple presentation today with accreditation update. And I know these meetings, especially full-blown summer, we may not have many people that are attending. I want to give a great shout out. Larry Crowder, good morning. Must have stepped away. But anyway, Angela, of course, always good to have you participate with us. And Nancy, good morning as well. Happy Tuesday. It's all good. All good. Angela, one of the things that I would like, since I've got you here, is since we're really in deep with the MAST assessment pilot, we have the ability, we're accelerating. It was only 5 and 7, and we're accelerating 3rd grade through 8th grade. We have 20,000 of 60,000 within that universe. The next discussion is, what do we do with secondary? Because the opportunity is, because we could do 9th grade. We could have a continuum of 3rd grade through 9th grade, but the ACT doesn't test that. But I would really love to have a conversation with OCHI and see exactly what the viability, as you have the funds that expend toward that secondary request for ESSA. So just a little note on the side, since I'm just attempting to do business here before we get ourselves up and going.
You bet. Thanks, Madam Superintendent. Just let us know when you want to have further dialogue on that front. We test our Gear Up students using ACT products. We have the 8-9, then we have, of course, the 10th for pre-ACT and then the 11th for ACT. So there is somewhat of a continuum just by the ACT products, but let us know when you're ready to visit further. We sure enjoy working with your team there.
Excellent. I so appreciate that. I so appreciate that. Looks like we're getting some more participants here in just a minute. Brian, if you could put up the agenda, that would be fabulous. We've got the close the digital divide. There we go. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to give a great shout out. It's a beautiful Tuesday across our state. Some of that Canadian smoke has left us. Let's hope that it doesn't come back. It's very challenging with individuals with asthma, and especially wanting to make sure that we can enjoy our beautiful outdoors that Montana brings. So we have a great agenda today. It seems that it's kind of long, but we'll get ourselves started on that. Wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Crowder. Larry, I'm going to call you out. Could you share your new role? Yikes. But Larry is taking over our rural schools, MREA, and I know he served in leadership with MREA for quite some time, wanting to make sure then that we have great continuum. So Larry, so glad that you are here. Brian, if you could go ahead, we have Wendy starting. Wendy, if you could, let's begin.
Thank you, Superintendent. So good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and just start with a very high level view of our normal monthly reporting that we do. And Brian, if you want to go to just the next screen down from that would be perfect. So this is just a report that's produced monthly again. It's just a reminder that it's a quick, fast view to see where the various districts are in their spending of the 3 allocations of ESSER. We will also be making this available at a countywide level. So we'll be shortly in August and September producing the same report, but collapsed so that it shows per county in case someone wants to know in their particular area how the schools are doing in that. We are also then going to be looking at and doing a lot of activity in the extended and expanded learning opportunities. So that summer school platform. Brian, if you want to choose the second tab up there. Yep, thank you. So this is a platform that you can go into and just quickly see some grant opportunities that the Office of Public Instruction has available out there. These grants are particularly focused right now on the summer platform and tie directly into the schools themselves for the fall. So it's really sort of other entities coming alongside the school districts and helping to support them in particularly the math and the literacy areas, and supporting then those students during sort of an off time, bridging into the future of the fall. And then lastly, we have the broadband area to update you on. This is an area that we're really going to be diving into well over the next year. And Brian, if you want to choose the tab up there on the right, the broadband. This is an area, and if you could scroll down just a bit. So there are 2 different plans that are available out there, the broadband 5-year action plan and the digital opportunity plan. Both of those are rather long, extensive documents, but you can take a look at them for information that your area, your districts may be interested in diving into. We are going to be utilizing a new employee, Allison Agostino, to help with identifying needs in different schools and then bringing in that access and skill level funding that could help with the digital access point. If you look, there's a speed test there that's available, and also just a little bit below this screen, there's also some information with regards to a connectivity access funding. It's $30 to $75 a month. It's been going on for a while, so really encourage all of you, if you could push that out, because it's still available. And that is not $30 to $75 per school, that's per family. So there are some eligibility requirements, but it's some pretty good funding for access at a home site. So feel free to reach out on any of those opportunities. If there are any questions, on any of those broad topics of broadband, summer school, or ESSER funding, feel free to ask. Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you, Wendy. I very much appreciate it. We've got a lot of big sky blue here. So, and we have, like I said, 7 items on the agenda. The next one, please. And Cedar is our assessment director. She's with family at this point. So Crystal, if you could go ahead and give us a MAST update, how many we have in the pilot, what schools, where they might be located at. I know we've got a robust, getting our website all up to date, and where we might be with our federal partners. Crystal, take it away.
Thank you, Superintendent. Brian, can you put my slides up, or would you like me to share my slide deck?
Brian, there we go.
Thank you. All right, so greetings. Yes, as a superintendent has asked me to share those 3 hot topics that she just spoke about. So I'm going to begin by sharing this map. This is the nearly most recent map that we have for year 2 of our Montana Alternative Student Testing Pilot Map. As you can see, we have representation from around the state, both some urban areas, as we would call urban in the state of Montana, but most significantly, several rural schools who have opted into the MAST pilot for year 2, a significant increase from year 1. Brian, if you'd go to the next slide. We have a table that shows the increase from year 1 to year 2. So As we've communicated throughout this last year, we had a little over like 5,500 students in year one from beginning to end. We know and we've shared that we had several students in those testing windows 3 and 4 not complete the mass testing due to that double testing burden for teachers and students within our school districts. But looking at year 2, we have recruited over 20,000 students in grades 3 through 8, which is about 30% of our overall testing population in those grades. We also have 127 schools that will be participating in year 2, representing 53 districts around our state. Brian, if you'd go to the next slide. Here is that progressional timeline from the very beginning of our planning and design with the MAST pilot. Notice June 23 to June 24, we're in our expanded pilot, which will be year 2 of the pilot that is coming up with full implementation statewide beginning July of 2024. So we're excited about that aggressive timeline. And as we get stakeholder feedback and meet and collaborate with our partners around the state, they too are excited about this timeline. Brian, the next slide, please. One of the major differences between year 1 and year 2, besides for the increase of student numbers, are our testing windows. Year 1 of MAST, as you remember, had 4 testing windows. Year 2, will have 5 testing windows. And you'll see there that 5th testing window is actually a performance task window for both math and ELA in grades 3 through 8. So we're excited for that item development to be occurring. We have communicated our testing windows through all of our partners around the state and excited to get going here in August with our first testing window for MAST. And then finally, as I know it's on the forefront of a lot of our minds, we have our federal flexibility testing waiver. So Brian, if you'd go to the next slide, we'll see just a brief timeline there. But I'll talk about it and then hopefully it'll show up here. So May 3rd is when we submitted our request to, again, remove that burden of the double testing for our students who this last year took both the Smarter Balanced Assessments and MAST within our pilot. May through July, we've had several congressional delegates, our state leadership, civil rights groups, policymakers request and support our waiver to the Department of Education. Actually, just yesterday, we met with the Department of Ed. They had some follow-up questions with our OPI team, so we were able to get that email sent off to them in a very quick turnaround of yesterday afternoon. And we are excited to and really anticipate hearing their yes here within the next couple of days, hopefully by the end of the week, but we know that there could be August 31st would be the last possible date for them to get our answer to us, but very optimistic from our meeting yesterday and the work that our agency did to answer their questions in an expedited manner yesterday. And I am available for questions.
Thank you, Crystal. The discussion we had with the department yesterday was really pointed. It was about the communication that we have with teachers, communication that we have with parents. What do the reports look like? It was really granular and very appreciative that the department is looking at this model. We are the only one in the nation that is doing this through year. And this accelerated model from 5,000 in just 5th and 7th is now 3 through 8th. I can't say enough, and this is what I just shouted out to the department yesterday, that the leadership of our schools went to our teachers, and our teachers are the ones that raised their hand and said, yes, we want to do this. We couldn't do this innovative work without those teachers recognizing that assessment and success of their teaching is also going to be validated. The other part of this, the waiver is so important because it's an incentive. The window doesn't open until October. We need to make sure that we give our partners the ability to be able to get the rostering and everything that's done so that we may be able to, if the department says yes, we could open this up for more districts this fall to recognize not just more than 20,000, but possibly even half of our 60,000 students, so that it doesn't necessarily look like it's a total replacement. We're asking for this waiver for 1 year so that teachers and students don't have to double test. Great opportunity. A lot of shout out to our OPI employees. We have so many people that are working on this innovative approach for assessment. Any other questions, jump on our website. Crystal's available. If you have any questions, contact her, and onward. The next one that we have then is a Stronger Connections grant. And it's exciting that we have got schools that are ready and available for this. So Paige, please take it away.
Awesome. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Brian, I assume you'll share.
I appreciate everyone's patience. It's kind of like wait time in school for answers.
Technology.
Thanks,
Plenty of
Paige.
decks of slides, I'm
I
sure.
know.
Thank you.
There we go.
I'm going to minimize myself. There we go. All right. So the Stronger Connections grant is a grant that was awarded to all states in September of last year. It's under the Title 4A statute, which is what my ultimate job is here. So this is focusing on improving conditions for student learning by encouraging schools to implement a comprehensive plan incorporating evidence-based activities, basically creating a safer and healthier learning environment to promote positive school climate in all of our schools. There is a safe and healthy component in Title 4A in general that schools can use, but this was additional funding for schools to have the opportunity to hire maybe a counselor, an SRO, things like that. You can go to the next slide, Brian. So we had a definition of high needs when we were looking at who could apply for this grant. We did open our grant twice this year so that all schools did ultimately have the opportunity to apply. We followed the criteria that was defining high needs based on the Department of Education's guidance. So we did look at LEAs with high rates of poverty, which is 40% or more, or they had to have 2 or more of the following characteristics. So maybe students with high student to mental health professional ratio, maybe they don't have a counselor in their school, maybe they have high rates of absenteeism, like lots of discipline, referrals to the juvenile justice system. So maybe those schools don't have an SRO, maybe they don't have a relationship with their police force in their town, or where students recently experienced a natural disaster or traumatic event. We did not count COVID-19 just because that was equally throughout the entire state and nation. But we did have a lot of schools that looked at that, like maybe they had a suicide last year, maybe they had a really, Red Lodge looked at like the flooding, things like that. You can go to the next slide. So what was the purpose of the Stronger Connections grant? Stronger Connections must be used to develop and implement and evaluate programs within the high need LEAs. It was a competitive grant, unlike the other federal grants that are formula grants. It does carry the same supplement, not supplant, and it did still have equitable share requirements, just as the formula Title 4A grant. We gave a minimum of $10,000 per LEA per year with a maximum of $350,000 total. So schools would have got $175,000 per year. And there were quite a few schools that did receive that max funding. All funds were required to be used under Title 4A safe and healthy guidelines. Like I said, a lot of schools did choose to hire a counselor, SRO, implement other like safety techniques. One school bought vape detectors. There's lots. They were very, very creative with their funding. You can go to the next one. So the award notice, the grant awards, this is all completely done, by the way. The schools are going in and accepting their awards this week. But the grant awards were made in eGrants on the 14th. All LEAs were notified of award notice by July 11th, and non-awarded LEAs were called and notified on the 7th, or by the 7th. I called them on the 6th, actually. The OPI was able to award 25 of 31 schools, which we felt was a lot of schools for a competitive grant. 18 of those LEAs were awarded at 100% of their requested funds. Keep in mind, we did have to look at like allowable uses and things like that under the law. There was a couple of schools that had requested funds that were not allowable. So we just deduct that first. 7 of those schools were awarded 65% of those their requested funds. So those 7 schools would have been the schools that scored in the middle, but under those top 18 schools. And then 6 LEAs were not awarded. And that is simply based on not hitting the minimum point threshold. If some of those schools would have hit the minimum point threshold, we would have figured out a percentage of a way to fund them as well. The OPI will be awarding these 25 schools with $2.2 million per year. And that's, so it's around 4.6 ultimately that we have to award for 2 years. And all applications were graded by 3 separate readers from around the states. And I thought it was really awesome that a lot of our readers were teachers from around the states, from schools that did not have a conflict of interest. So meaning that their school did not apply. You can go to the next slide. These are just a screenshot of what schools were funded based on reader scores. Like I said, all scores or all applications were graded by 3 separate readers. And so then they had a team meet, talked about their scores and consolidated their scores. These are the schools that were funded at 100%. You can just look through those. And then these are the schools that were funded based on at 65% based on their reader scores. So there's a wide range of who we were able to fund, lots and lots of like teeny tiny schools from around the state, a couple bigger schools like Missoula. You can go to the next slide, please. All right, so grantee reporting that they will need to do since 25 schools were awarded. Their recipients will submit an annual progress report in the OPI eGrants, just like they do for any of the other federal programs. For this coming school year, 23-24, they will complete a school climate survey. They'll complete the end of year program report, which is assigned an eGrant, and then they'll do updated goals and objectives for the following school year. None of this is a surprise to schools. We let them know all of this before they chose to apply for funding, and they had to let us know in their application what they would be doing for a school climate survey. So they already have a team ready for that. They've already talked about this in their schools and they have a plan. For school year 24-25, it's very similar. They will complete a school climate survey again. It can be the exact same survey, just done again. They'll do an end of year program report, and then they'll do an explanation of sustainable practice. Once again, this is not a surprise to them. We asked them in the application how this can be a sustainable program in their schools, since this is only 2-year funding. So maybe how partnerships funded, including the strengths and challenges, how they can continue funding, which once again, they let us know their plan for that in the application. You can go to the last slide. This is just my contact information. If you have any questions, you're absolutely welcome to call or email me. I could even put my number in the chat if you need. Michelle Kuzi has been a big part of helping with the competitive aspect of this, since she does the 21st Century grant. She helped a lot since I do formula grants. You can email either of us. That is totally fine. Does anyone have any questions for us or me? I also cannot see hands, so if you just unmute yourself, that would be awesome.
Paige, thank you very much. Lots
Yeah.
of detailed, lots of good stuff that's happening in our communities. And the most important part about any federal grant or any other grant is sustainability. So it was written into this one to make sure that we have a view for that future and that school districts are preparing when that grant concludes. So Paige, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let's
Thanks.
go to the next one then. Chris, thank you. Just a real quick update on our data modernization.
Good morning, Superintendent, and good morning to everyone on board today. Brian, if you wouldn't mind pulling up the homepage for OPI. I'll show you real quick. We've updated some the pages and the information that are on that site. The links on the right at the bottom of that list is the K-12 Data Task Force and the modernization. We combine those pages. Brian, if you click on that link, that'd be great. And that will take you to the new set where all the information is going to be listed. So under the current information accordion over there on the right by that picture is going to have the latest information from the K-12 Data Task Force meetings, anything to deal with the project itself. We're also trying to get our dashboard set up for the project plan and availability for those to see what's going on in the project on a weekly basis. And as many of you may know, we recently signed an agreement with PowerSchool for part of the modernization project. That included a couple of products in there. One is the Connected Intelligence, which is the data lake tool that PowerSchool has, as well as the Unified Insights, which is essentially an high-powered analysis and graphical representation of the data that we'll be utilizing for showing the data to the public, the different levels of the schools, and us at OPI as well. So we have our kickoff meeting this Thursday, day after tomorrow, and we're excited to get this project going. Any questions?
Thank
All
you,
right.
Chris.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your beautiful day.
Thank you.
The K-12 Data Task Force is in statute. There are 29 members. We have one member that does duplicative roles. We have all but 2 of our data task force filled, and this data task force was put in 2013 through a piece of legislation. So between the data task force and the data modernization, it's a great partnership and a good link. So we'll go on to the next one. We have an accreditation update. Crystal, good morning.
Good morning, Superintendent. Hi, everyone. So I will be brief, and I don't have anything to share. So Brian, you are off the hook. I did put in the chat, though, the link to our school accreditation website. We have been busy updating and adding information as we are getting closer to the school year. Some things to highlight, I would definitely point out that we are hosting a new superintendent work session. This will be coming out in the Compass, and I believe a press release as well, but we will be and wearing the hat of licensure and accreditation there to answer questions to help new superintendents get set up and understand the new process and accreditation. But we've invited others in the agency to come and at that time as well. So it'll be a good meet, greet, and work session. And I said anyone can come. It doesn't have to be a brand new superintendent. It's welcome for all superintendents and administrators. On the webpage also is every month we'll be hosting some kind of professional development for accreditation in our new process, beginning with us being at SAM at the end of this month. So we were at Summer Institute working with the graduate profile. But as you can see on the website, we have many different areas of the new accreditation process, and we will be hosting and hybrid models of throughout the state. With that, we are also using our time having summer office hours, and they will go into the school year as well. They actually are right after this meeting today. So my staff and my accreditation staff and I are on Zoom they're available for anyone that has questions on the accreditation process, what it's going to be looking like. And I can share that we are starting at the end of this month again with a stakeholder feedback group work sessions where we're looking at the different components of the accreditation process and having input on what types of evidence will need to be submitted, definitions, and really just getting all of our stakeholders, our district level, input on what that looks like. I presented all of this information at the board last Friday, and it was stated, and I agree that thanks Superintendent for letting us do a slow rollout because it is a lot of change and we want it to be successful and really meaningful to districts. So we are going to slowly roll it out, use this year as a really good year for, for coaching through the changes and being helpful. So my keyword for accreditation is communication and just being transparent and being there for districts this year. So we will continually update the webpage and get all the information there. That would be the best place to go for all the links and sites and upcoming events. Thank you.
Wonderful. Any questions for Crystal? Please do visit our website. And as she had shared, it is about communication. If we need to do something better, we'll do everything we can. We want to make sure that the rollout is impactful, but also making sure that it is extremely flexible for our schools, as this is something very new to them. So our last agenda item, we have Brenton. Brenton, you'll be presenting to the State Tribal Relations Committee tomorrow, quite possibly the same documentation and everything that we have been working through. And this is for our MILP. So Brenton, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Brenton Craigs. I'm the new staff attorney at the Office of Public Instruction, and I'm here to speak briefly on our timeline for the development of rules implementing House Bill 287. HB 287 instructed OPI to develop guidelines for administering the Montana Indian Language Preservation Program in collaboration with each tribal government of a federally recognized tribe in Montana. HB 287 goes on to state the legislature intends that the Office of Public Instruction collaborate with tribal governments to adopt program guidelines and solicit applications by October 1st, 2023, so that funds may be distributed in fiscal year 2024, no later than February 1st of 2024. To this end, OPI has established a plan for a rulemaking process with the intended goal of complying with the October 1st deadline. OPI staff submitted our proposal rule notice for the implementation of HB 287 to the Montana Secretary of State on July 11th, following consultation with Montana's tribal leaders. The proposed rule will be published in the Montana Administrative Register, or MAR for short, this Friday, July 21st. Once the rules are published in the MAR, per the Montana Administrative Procedure Act, there is a window of at least 28 days during which the public may provide comment, and a public hearing at least 20 days from the date of publication. Because these two deadlines can run concurrently, OPI has scheduled a public hearing on the proposed rules for August 11th, with the public comment period planned to close on August 18th. Now, under MAPA, the proposed rules cannot be adopted until at least 30 days after publication, but no more than 6 months after publication in the MAR. OPI values the input received from our tribal partners and from the public comments received during the comment period, and as such, while OPI will aim for responding to all public comments in time for the August 29th Secretary of State filing date, to allow for legitimate consideration of input, we plan to submit the final notice for publication by the September 12th Secretary of State filing date, which is the last filing date that would satisfy the statutory intent of HB 287. Once filed on September 12th, the finalized rules would be published on September 22nd. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today on our rulemaking process. This is a shorter than average turnaround time and deadline that we are working hard to meet, but please rest assured that we are working hard to stick with the schedule and very much look forward to your input, the input of the tribes, and the input of the Montanan public in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenton. Any questions you might have? seems really legalese, but the most important thing is that there he is smiling. It's extremely important that, of course, that we follow the law, but we will be submitting this to State Tribal tomorrow in the afternoon. And I think, Bacall, you'll also be there. There is a discussion that I think you have also yourself on that agenda for them. The committees are alive and well and are working through their leadership, getting their work plans all put together. So we have them within our midst for the next year, 15 months or so. So with all the other meetings that everyone has, just adding that other onto it is just something that we do in the manner of serving. So Larry, I see that you are here. Just wanted to, if you're new to our group here, I believe, if you'd just like to share real quick who you are for us to all to know you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Superintendent Arntzen. I'm Larry Crowder. I'm the new Executive Director for the Montana Rural Education Association. I'm replacing Dennis Parman.
Well, good morning. We do these meetings and I'm so glad that you're here. We do these meetings monthly. And so they're just like clockwork. If you have any questions of any of our staff, of course, reach to us. Does anyone have anything they would like to add, as I could say as a chair of a committee, for the good of the order? If not, blessings to you. Thank you for all that you do to put our kids first, and especially our students. School doors will be opening in 45 days. I'm ready. I'm sure we all will be. Thank you. Blessings.